Austin, Texas to Ringe, New Hampshire, this is the Slipstream podcast, and I almost forgot the name again. This is just not...
Show, man. Come on. How do you...
We're gonna go with that one. We're gonna keep that one. We're gonna keep going, man. It's all right. I've got Josh Randall, Mr. Hotspot, with me once again. How you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
Oh, man, no complaints over here. I was telling you before we started recording, I'm doing the show with all college students, I guess. So all y'all are in finals right now, and I don't know what that, I can't remember what that's even like. I don't like tests and stuff like that. So how's it going over there?
It's all online now. So, I mean, it's that works for some people. It doesn't work for others. For me personally, it's a little bit harder, but I mean, yeah, I'm not going to complain that much.
So you've had this whole year online pretty much, right?
Pretty much. Yeah. I think last semester I had only 2 classes in person, like the whole week, out of the 5 that I did have per day. And then this semester I had them all online. So yeah, it's been tough.
Okay. Are you you're in a dorm room right now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you have to be in a dorm, but also it's online.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't have been here if I knew all my classes were going to be online. You kind of sign up for them, and then they make that decision later. That's how no lie. That's how it went.
Yeah, just fun. So we're going to do these online classes, but we need you to still come to the room and stay in the room, in this little tiny room, and then we'll do it that way. That's great. Great logistics from all the colleges. Just a shout out to all the logistics departments for all the schools this year. It's just been so funny, man.
Absolutely. Definitely not being run by Mattia Benato, but it's all good.
Oh, man. So we are here after the Aramco Gran Premio de España 2021. And that's a much easier race name to pronounce than the Imola race, which was our last episode together. I got schooled by Tiak, my teammate, in Midwest F1 about how to say the Imola Grand Prix correctly. And so I had a little lesson. He says it way better than me because he's actually Italian. Mm-hmm. So he was giving me lessons on how to say that. I was like, okay, well, that's way better than how I do it. So I'm glad you're my teammate. You can give me some Italian stuff. But yeah, man, what did you think of this? What did you think of this race? Did you watch it Sunday? Do you watch it live? How do you do it?
Yeah, so for me, normally on a good weekend, like this past weekend, it was on at about 9 a.m. for me. So I was able to watch it live. As opposed to races, I think Imola was about 7:30, something like that. Was not that fun. But I tell you what, it was one of the better Spain races in recent memory. That still doesn't change my mind that they should have the circuit in reverse, because it'd be a much better circuit if they did that. They could even leave that awful chicane in. It would work. I believe that fully. But no, this is definitely better Spain races that we've seen. It was actually something that, even if it was the same usual suspects podium that we did see, it was still something worth watching. And it was still something worth dissecting as you were watching it. It definitely wasn't the best race. It's definitely not going to be anywhere close to the best race of the season, but it was definitely one that you should pay attention to.
Yeah, I don't think it was a top 5 by any stretch, but if you're a fan of this sport, you can kind of watch all these races and there's something to pick out. There's a lot of people online that like to bash a race that kind of ends up in the normal fashion as far as like the podium order and things like that. But this was really interesting. I think they are, the people that kind of naysay races like this are just a little bit too cynical, man, because it was fun. It was a race where tires really won the day. It was pretty wild. Lewis Hamilton's able to stretch his tires better and manage them better than pretty much anyone on the grid right now. And that's winning him races. I mean, this won him that race, the ability to stretch his tires, the fact that they had more tires to go than Max Verstappen did, and which was such a weird sort of strategy call by Red Bull. And we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, man, I think it's one of those situations where, you're just watching and you're like, well, it's kind of ended up how I expected it to go. But it's still really fun to watch. So, pretty crazy starting grid. Actually, it's not that crazy, let's be honest. But the craziest thing, we got Hamilton, Verstappen, and Bottas out of qualifying 1, 2, 3. Leclerc in 4th though, and he's been showing up this season And what I wanted to kind of get to right off the bat is Leclerc pulling some pace out of this car. This is clearly a better car than last year. And Ferrari have done phenomenal work to getting this car kind of up to the doorstep. They're not knocking on 1 and 2, but they're like walking up the path. You know what I'm saying? Like they're out of the driveway. The midfield's the driveway. The back markers are back like down the street, you know. And but Ferrari's kind of walking up they're up the cobblestone path at this point. I don't know. And I wanted to ask you, do you know a better story than I do about what they're doing technically to bring this car up to speed? Was it just the engine upgrade this year with their car, or what do you know about that?
You know, I think it was one of two things. One, I think they've put in a lot of work over the off season, specifically Ferrari. I'm not sure that Haas and Alfa Romeo made these strides that they necessarily wanted to. I'm also assuming that they probably made better on the technical regulations that came in this season, which we have seen a lot of teams either use to their advantage or disadvantage. Advantage, I think, being Ferrari, being Red Bull. Disadvantage, obviously, being a team like Aston Martin, who will complain about the rules just to complain about the rules, really, and make it sound like they're the victim in this whole story. But Ferrari have definitely been putting in some solid efforts so far this season. And I think when the stars do align, we will see Ferrari start getting on the podium. I think Leclerc was on the doorstep of it this weekend. This was probably the best chance he's had over the past 2 seasons, probably, aside from obviously Turkey last season where Vettel got it. But I think they're definitely in contention again. I actually, if they continue making the progress that they are making, I could see them really right there with McLaren as well, like even closer than they are now.
Yeah, like a little bit I feel like they might have the resources to do that a little quicker than McLaren. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I really don't base that on anything other than they're the oldest team in Formula One. So maybe they got some tricks up their sleeve that McLaren don't, even though I got an orange microphone and McLaren's on my wall back here. I still got to be real with it. But yeah, man, it's really impressive. I wasn't expecting Ferrari to do much this season. I don't know why I got that impression. Maybe I just haven't been around this sport long enough to really see the writing on the wall when it comes to that. But I was expecting them to be 7 through 10 every single race. And that's what I'm doing is underestimating Charles Leclerc because this kid is a championship winning driver. I think we're going to see a championship from him in the next 5 years. Easily, easily, especially when you have Hamilton retiring. And if they put a car up there that's going to be able to compete, I guess, with Red Bull or Mercedes, who even knows what's going to happen next year with the regulation change? That's the crazy part, is you have all these drivers that are these young kids, these young guns in these cars that they're going to change next year. And the pace is actually going to slow down a little bit. Overall, we're going to have these different cars that look like they're straight out of, a Star Wars or something like that.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
It is weird. It's like a futuristic looking car. It's really, you really like it. Yeah, it will. It will. You'll get used to it. But you look at the SketchUps now and you're just like, okay, well, is this Tron? Is this a Tron video? Like how, I don't even, it's a pretty interesting thing to see how these young kids will do with these new cars. I think they're going to maybe adapt quicker. But all that to say is Charles in a competitive spot at the moment, and he seems to pull pace out of this car that it might not even be there, but somehow it gets there because of the way he drives. And I just think that's a phenomenal achievement to be able to do that. It's definitely why Ferrari signed him. I'd like to see, man, it'd be nice to see him pull a win out at some point. He's going to be on the podium several times, but it would be nice to see him pull a victory somewhere. But hopefully they just don't do a Monza 2020 again. Hopefully when they get there, I think that's all they're shooting for, is just like, all right, let's not humiliate ourselves at Monza again, and we'll be fine.
That's usually how it goes. I will say, though, the trend usually is that Ferrari does look as one of the stronger teams after new technical regulation is put into place. Yeah. Usually that's kind of how it works. We saw that 2018, 2019 was a couple good seasons for them. Obviously not the best. Obviously, 2019 was probably the closest they had to a title run versus Mercedes, at least Vettel. did. I'm not really sure how that all played out. I'm still relatively new to the sport, if I'm honest. But yeah, they're making significant progress. And I definitely think Charles is one of the more talented drivers in the field now. I would almost put him top 5 if I'm completely honest.
Oh, I would definitely put him top 5.
He's
as far as just raw talent. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, he's not the most glamorous. He doesn't have all of the tire managing capabilities of, say, a driver like Perez, but definitely on just racecraft and intelligence, he is definitely top 5 in the field, and I definitely expect him to win a championship at some point in the future. I don't know. I don't see it happening for another 5 years, probably, but it probably could happen.
Can we call him Charles? As Americans, are we allowed to call him Charles? I don't want to call him Charles. I feel weird calling him Charles.
I've heard it go both ways. That's the thing. Yeah. I think, how does he say it? I think he
says it. This is how he says it himself, right? This is how he says his own name. You ready for this? Mm-hmm. Chuck Leclerc. That's what he says. That's how he says it. Yeah, that's what he says. When they ask him after a race, they're like, "Yeah, how did you do? The Ferrari held up. What did you think about your race today?" And he's like, "Well, as Chuck Leclerc, I'll tell you this much."
Yeah, well, he probably should start doing that. I've got to be honest, he'd be probably more of
the adventures of Carlos and Chuck Leclerc. So anyway, Carlos down in P6 with the other Ferrari, but splitting the two. P5 on the starting grid is Ocon, who had a really great day on qualifying. I might not. Let's see where he ended up with the actual race. Yeah, he ended up back down in P9. He had a stronger week last week, I would say, probably just a stronger week overall as far as just results. But the Alpines are looking a lot stronger in the last 2 weeks. That's really surprising as well. I maybe shouldn't be that surprising considering the talent that they have. Some of the most underrated talent that's probably on the grid right now, and I'm guilty myself of underrating them. Especially the first 2 races didn't look like much was happening. But man, they've got a pretty strong package. I think their upgrades are serving them well, and I think Alonso's coming into form. You got to kind of treat him like a rookie or a new driver, or a new team. He hasn't really taken a break from driving per se, but he has taken a break from Formula One for 2 years, which is, might as well be 10. So, I think he's looking good. Ocon, yeah, man. Ocon is really stepping up though, as far as his pace in qualifying, and at least last week with his race pace. So yeah, it's a thing.
It's definitely getting better. I would always refer to Esteban Ocon as just kind of like the driver who is there, not really the most flashy driver on the grid, not always the one who's getting podiums and whatnot. Especially when he was teammates with Ricardo last season, he was just kind of the driver. He was just kind of there on the grid. He was. Flew under pretty much everyone's radar, and then I think maybe he got a spark of confidence after his podium at, was it Sakir? He got the podium. Not wrong about that, am I? Yeah. So yeah. I think he's gotten a lot of confidence from that. I think you can definitely start to see him develop even more from what he was. Not to mention partnered with Fernando Alonso, I was questioning, as a lot of F1 fans were for the longest time, why would they choose Fernando Alonso to be put in this car? Well, there's so much young talent that they could have chosen, that they could have, brought into the sport and developed even further. Potential future champions, I might add. But I tell you what, I'm very impressed with him. He doesn't look like he's that far off. Of course, he's taken the break and he'll still have time to adjust again, but he doesn't look that bad right now. I'm actually quite happy to see that, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think he's just got the experience, and I think he's one of the older guys that are still quick. And Raikkonen's kind of like he's probably the most consistent man you'll see with that age bracket, I guess, the middle age bracket, the guys that are just old enough to be my big brothers, which is there's like 2, 3 of them. But yeah, man, I think he's just still got it, man. I think he's got a little juice left in the tank. I don't think he's a championship contender, but he's definitely a podium contender if the weather's right, if the stars align. I think we'll see maybe a couple of podiums from him. It'd be nice. Where do you think? it seems to me like Alpine might have a car that's just better suited for circuits and not street courses. Do you think that's the case?
Yeah, normally that is the trend with the formerly Renault, now Alpine cars. That is typically the trend that we did see. I'm sure they would like to see more versatility out of that. But you got to think, I believe this is going to be our first street circuit of the season with Monaco coming up next week. So that should be interesting to see. Hopefully they can put together a solid quality result, as obviously you're going to need. But anything could happen. And I'm sure if the conditions are right, like we saw last year at the Nürburgring, and then eventually again at Secure, I think they probably could get on a podium if they, really went for it.
Yeah, I think they could. The Monaco Grand Prix. I was watching a video a few weeks ago, and it was like the history of Formula One video games. And every time the guy in the video, he would like do a little 10-second clip of each game dating back from like the 70s to now. So he's like going through all the time periods. And there's a few games that were made in like the 80s or something, the 90s, that were called like Monaco Grand Prix, or just Monaco was in the title. And every time he got to him, he would say Monaco. And I've never wanted to punch a TV more than someone pronouncing it Monaco Grand Prix. And I don't know why that angered me so much, but it did. And I can't get it out of my head every time I see Monaco.
I think George Russell fans would disagree with you on that front. However, that is strange. And I never want to hear that again, as a matter of fact.
Wait, George Russell says Monaco?
No, George, you said I've never wanted to punch a TV more. And I would say, well, you got George Russell fans could disagree with you on that after Secure and then obviously Imola a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Oh, that's a deep ref, dude. I didn't even get that the first time around. That's good. Yeah. I bet they do. But I feel like if you're like a straight up George Russell fan, you're just like setting yourself up for disappointment every week. Like you're just, you gotta be,
unfortunately,
you gotta be a pretty big masochist to just be like, who's your favorite driver? Who do you want to see win? Like, oh, George Russell's like, okay, well, you obviously hate yourself. So
you obviously just want to be, it's like he's trying to be 10 years ahead of the curve. He's trying to get on the hype train now so that when Russell does become a future world champion, people don't call him some sort of bandwagoner or something like that. He's trying to get ahead of the curve. I can't entirely blame him if I'm honest, but
George Russell, it was surprising to see that. And I know we already talked about it, but that outburst at Imola kind of cracked me up a little bit. Like it was a little funny. Good. Like it was kind of out of character seeing him be that emotional. And it's kind of like the proof in the pudding of like how pressure laden that whole system is. How much of a pressure cooker that whole deal really is. Because it was he just got out and just tapped his helmet. Like, dude, you can't, what are you doing? Tapping your helmet? Like, you can't tap his helmet. He might have also, I heard this on Shift F1, which is a great F1 podcast. If you're out there looking for more, obviously, if you're looking for like F1 podcasts, if you're listening to us. So first of all, thank you. Second of all, Shift F1's a great one as well. And those guys, Danny O'Dwyer hosts that. And Danny O'Dwyer is the producer and host of a series called No Clip on I believe it's Patreon, but they put their documentaries on YouTube. And it's just a documentary series about different video games. And they did one for, it's incredible. And I started listening to the Shift F1 podcast. And I was like, that guy is on this other channel. I was like, this is the same Irish accent. What's going on? And so he has that podcast and then he produces that whole YouTube channel. I was like, dude, what cool thing. So super recommend that. But yeah, back to the grid rundown here. What do we got? So here's what I kind of wanted to talk about is Tsunoda down in 16th on the starting grid and then punted it out of the race, or he didn't punt it. His car shut down. But he was having trouble all weekend with his car. His car during either one of the practices or qualifying straight up just shut down after he went over a curb. One of the curbs coming out onto the second DRS straight. And he hit a curb and then his car just shut down. He's like, okay, well, my car switched off, which I don't know how you don't completely shit your pants when your Formula One car shuts down on the track, but it did. And then it shut down again, kind of almost in the same place. which was just wild to see. So I don't know what was going on with his car, but he looks to be going through the rookie pains. He had some really strong showings and performances first couple of weeks, and Bahrain, he looked great. He looked incredible. Testing, he looked incredible. But I think he's really kind of going through the this is Formula One, where everything kind of has to go perfect for you to have a good weekend. And it's tough to see, but also at the same time, you kind of expect it. You're like, okay, well, you got to cut your teeth somehow. So he's kind of going through the ringer.
Yeah, it was one of the things. I know this is a term, especially with like the NBA and whatnot. They got the rookie wall, they call it, where you get absolutely slammed from all this travel that you need to do everything different. Because I mean, think of it, the transition from F2 to F1, ridiculous. F2 hasn't had a race in what, 3-4 weeks now. Like, you got so much break in between, and then F1, especially these back-to-backs, you go from Portugal to Spain and then eventually to Monaco. I mean, I don't blame him for being a little bit, off the pace right now. He's a rookie. He's going to have to get used to it a little bit. The thing I will complain about, though, is how he handled that whole situation this weekend. I think that was just a little unprofessional from him. I feel like he's a lot more frustrated, and he's got a lot more expectation on himself than he probably needs to have. I know that he's in F1 now. I know that he's in a reasonably fast car, but I feel like, number one, if you're in an environment with Red Bull linked to it, you should not be insulting anybody on the team. They won't like that. So I feel
unless you got a Red Bull can in your hand, then you can say whatever.
Yeah, unless you got a Red Bull can in your hand and your name is Max Verstappen, I don't think you can do either of those things. So yeah, that could probably be handled better. But I really want to see him perform, because I don't think anybody is questioning the talent that this kid does have. I feel like it is just a matter of settling into place and then, just kind of getting your stuff together. Because we see him, he's super frustrated with the car that he has, probably more than he probably should be. Some of it is really just mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, I really hope he gets out of that like rut soon, because I want to see him get good results.
I do too. I'm trying to read my data for the race, and my cat's in the way. I wish I could turn the camera, but she's just standing right in front of the screen, looking at the same screen I am. And so so I'm trying to listen to you and get my cat, and I'm just hitting her in the head with different things, and she's not doing anything. So we'll see if she wait. Hold on, move. There we go. Okay, so hey, appreciate it. So yeah, man. Yeah, he just, I think he's just going through a lot. I think it's just it's a pressure laden environment. And there's a lot of tendency to really put these kids under the microscope, but we got to remember that they're kids, man. I mean, and not to patronize you or anything, but you're a young dude. You're the same age, and you're in a place where you learn a lot. You learn a lot at the age that you're at. I mean, it's you're going through a lot of things that for the first time, and so I think it's hard to remember that sometimes, because these kids are in such a public environment, in such a media soaked environment where everything is put under the microscope. And you got to show up and perform, and you have to be ready for that. And you have to realize your responsibilities as, a role model, because you are. It's wild to think that, like, at 19 years old or 17, as 16 and 17 in Max Verstappen's case, you're thrust into a position where you're a role model all of a sudden to millions of kids around the globe. And so it's got to be tough, man. It's got to be a really tough thing to be able to have to compete at that level. And then at the same time, when things go wrong, keep a really cool head. So you are setting a good example for, kids that watch, and just the whole sport in general. So it's just a wild thing when you stop to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And ESPN came out with an article, I think 2 days ago, where Lando Norris was talking about this exact same thing. He was talking about his transition. He was talking about the anxiety he would get, just the sleepless nights that he would have, just, replaying all these events in his head, whilst hitting that rookie wall at the same time. And Lando is the perfect example of how well it can be handled. I mean, Lando now is probably one of the most loved drivers on the grid. Not to mention he's really developed over these past 2 seasons. He wasn't shy of the struggle as well. Everybody in F1 was talking about Lando Norris in his first season or two and saying, is this kid really got what it takes? I know I was looking at him and saying, is he really the best thing that McLaren could have going for them right now?
Yeah.
But then, I tell you what, he's handled it well. He's handled the pressure. He's really matured as a driver, as a person. And now he's getting results. And I feel like once Yuki settles down, he'll get there as well.
Yeah, I think so. Give him a year or two. You don't throw him up too soon. And I don't know if he's going to have an opportunity in the next couple of years either. I don't know if I see Red Bull getting rid of Checo after a year. I just don't see them doing the same thing that they did to an Albon or a Gasly, even just because of his experience level. And I think he's probably going to be seeing a lot of better results in the coming races, in the coming weeks, definitely later on this season. I think he's going to really cauterize his position. And while we're on the topic, let's talk about him. Checo Perez, P8, right behind Daniel Ricciardo, who notably had a great day. And we'll get to that in a second. But while we're on the Red Bull train, Sergio starting the race P8 and going with the P5 to end it, which kind of best case scenario in that instance, especially being stuck behind Ricardo for as long as he was. So yeah, I mean, it looked pretty good. We probably definitely could have done better. But it seemed like he was a little sick this whole weekend. He was a little sick, just like flu or something, stomach bug, and then still came out and put it on P5 at the end. So what do you think? I don't like it's hard to say this, especially considering that, we've just started the season with Checo Perez in the seat, but I could potentially seeing something where he falls into almost a Mark Webber type role where he's there, he puts in results. He's not the favorite for the team, but he's a good driver and he will continue to perform. And I think I'm not sure people can start criticizing him and considering if that seat will potentially be up in the air in the future until he starts performing like Albon did in the second half of last season. I really think it has to get to that point before people can start saying, is he the best man for the job? And honestly, I don't see anybody coming to replace him anytime soon. I don't think there's any other driver on the grid worthy of that second Red Bull seat at the moment that's not obviously already in a car or going to look for a team next season. I don't see it happening. I think as long as he doesn't have some sort of catastrophic meltdown, we'll be seeing Checo in the Red Bull for probably at least another couple seasons, I think. You think so? 2023?
I could see it happening. I mean, I don't think Pierre is going to stay in the Red Bull program, as we talked about when I was here before. We talked about that as well. I mean, unless someone, I don't see right now Yuki being able to do that either, unless he throws together some ridiculous results. Then I could probably say, okay, there is competition for that seat, but not now, whatsoever.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So let's see what we got now at this point. What do we got? Okay, here's what I wanted to talk about is why did Red Bull go into the race down two sets of tires? Hamilton went into that race 2 sets of softs, 2 sets of mediums, and that just wasn't there for Verstappen. And for whatever reason, even with that, he came in on the extra stop, or he came in for his first stop, rather, about lap 25, without even calling it in. I'm sure he has a pit button there, but it kind of took him out of the running for a one stopper, which is what won which would have been a pretty good strategy, especially going up against Hamilton's second stop. But he had that extra set of mediums that he could stop for and get that extra pace. And like we said earlier, the tires seemed to have won the race this go around. Yeah, definitely. And so it was just really weird seeing them not go into Sunday with 2 sets of mediums like Mercedes did, knowing that they were fully capable of pulling off. They had to be aware that Hamilton was capable of pulling off a 2-stop and coming from behind. It's just like the guy is a bullet through the field when he needs to be, and he seems to pull pace out of thin air. So it's like, do you not expect that to happen? I mean, even with the 2.5 lead off the first lap, and we just saw him just come back from that second stop, which still surprised me. But at the same time, if you're a strategist for Red Bull, you've got to see that coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know whose executive decision it was to have Verstappen to pull off an undercut like that. That was kind of ridiculous, honestly. I looked at that. This my live thoughts during the race was I was looking at that and saying, what are they thinking right now? Honestly, we just saw Lewis Hamilton come back. I think it was maybe like 2 laps before his stop, and he shaved a whole like quarter of a second off his time just in sector 3. He was conserving and managing his tires so well that entire race. Honestly, it would give Checo a run for his money, if I'm completely honest. It was that good how ridiculous he was managing it, and he was doing it so well. And I just the disappointment that Red Bull faced this past weekend, I really hope that doesn't haunt that team. But honestly, that was just a bonehead decision. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure either what the deal is with having the tires there. What you were just talking about, the 2 less sets or whatever. I'm not really sure the details behind that, but
it was. I think I misspoke. It was they. I don't know what their situation with softs were, but that was not the race tire. The race tire this weekend was the mediums. And for whatever reason, they just didn't go into Sunday with 2 sets of mediums for Max. And they did for Hamilton, which is like, I don't know. It just kind of caught me off guard. I feel like you would want to kind of match Hamilton with what he has to be able to counter his strategy if he opts for the 2-stop like he did. And he opted for the 2-stop quickly. Like he went from about lap 27. He was Hamilton's first pit stop. And then about 42 or 43 was his second. So he didn't do a really long second stint, and you could tell that they kind of switched up strategy halfway through the race. And I feel like if you're Red Bull, like match it and try to be able to counter, but they just didn't have the tool in the bag. Ended up pitting Verstappen about lap 60 for another set of softs. So I guess they did have a set of softs just to do a fastest lap, because man, by then the gap to Bottas was 23 seconds, 26 seconds, something like that.
Yeah, the end. It was kind of ridiculous. I mean, yeah, absolutely you would have matched Hamilton at that, because it's not like the cars were that different on pace originally. I think Red Bull, as you said, if they made the right strategy choice, if they had if they had the sets of tires, whatever, I think they definitely could have pulled the win out. I'm just not really sure why. I just don't know, man. I think eventually, as you said, yeah, they did take the second stint a little bit shorter. And I think at that point, it was pretty clear that they weren't going to catch Hamilton again. So they were like, yeah, let's grab the point. It's whatever.
But pit Verstappen like lap 50, 55, and give him about 20 laps to catch up on those softs, because he's got the skill to do that.
Yeah, easily.
It was such a bizarre strategy call. I think what threw it off is he went into the pits without being called in. His first stop, he just went in, and I was reading somewhere that I guess they have a button on the steering wheel that allows you to signal that you're coming in, but it was never called in by the crew at all. It was just something that he pushed and just came in, so they were ready for him. But the stop was still about 4.4 seconds, which Red
Bull standard. I think Red Bull standard. That's an eternity.
That's a fortnight for Red Bull. So. They might have well set up like a Red Dead Redemption tent just in the pit lane, just like, would you like to cook some mint pork? Press X, So, yeah, man, it was just wild. They just got outpaced, man, and it was crazy seeing that this season when you expect it. I mean, it was still a close battle, but you just expected it to be a little closer, I guess.
Yeah, this was the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is that. When we do see the same 3 on the podium every week, I'm not going to complain if it's a good battle, if it's a good race.
No.
Like, I'm going to complain about this weekend just simply because of the strategy. Because, like, Max Verstappen, what is your team thinking? What are you thinking if what you were saying is true, with the fact that he just kind of went for it and didn't confirm with the team? But it was still a good race. It was entertaining, and I feel like the battle definitely could have been closer. I definitely think that had everything played out in Red Bull's favor, I definitely think we could have been seeing Max take the win, but that's not how it played out. So
I think I think this weekend he just got outraced. I don't think he was that disappointed at the end. He was just like, I think that was about as fast as we could go. And I don't think it was all up to the car. I think at this point it was talent. And Lewis is a guy where you just really can't overstate how good he is. And I think this race too, he's quoted as saying he learned more about Max this race than he has in all of the other ones where he's competed with them. So maybe Max at this point is pulling out all of the trick. I mean, we'll just have to see. I want this battle to be closer. It's 3 wins to 1 against Mercedes and Red Bull's 1 win. So, man, I just want to see it get closer. I think Monaco is a good test of that.
I mean, it's only it's like a 7-point gap, something like that from first to second. Something like that. I don't quote me on that. Something wrong, but
so it's 7 to 10.
It's not out of the woods yet. We could still potentially see starting in Monaco. I think we could see that that could get interesting for sure.
Monaco Grand Prix.
Oh yes,
I'm gonna wear a suit. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna wear a suit, and just a good shirt underneath. Maybe have like a custom cocktail menu. I feel like this is what you need to do when you watch Monaco.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to just pretend you're 10 times richer than you actually are.
Yeah, definitely.
First, I need to buy a suit.
Yeah, well, you're in college. It's fine. You're on a budget. I'm 36 years old, so I'm legally required to own a suit. If not two, if not multiples. Right. It is. It really is. When you get to like, because this is like, I guess 30s really. You're 32, 33. I've been feeling the crunch for a while, but I finally sprung for one this year. And you go to weddings. You're going to a lot of weddings as a young man in your 30s and your late 20s, and you got to have the suit. You got to have the suit. You got to look good in the pictures. Here's a tip for you. Is girl asks you to go to a wedding with them. You gotta almost look better than them in the pictures. Almost. Not straight up, but they secretly want you to have a suit on. They're not going to tell you that, but they want you to have a suit on. So you gotta find a suit. Taken. And so, suits for the weddings, they want you to look good for the gram is really what it's all about. It's just all about Instagram. They just want you to look good for the gram.
Oh God. Yeah.
So I'm going to wear it for Monaco, and hopefully we'll see some Red Bull victories just because I'm wearing a suit. That's what I'm going for. I'm really just hoping to see a Red Bull victory. It's a navy blue suit, so we'll see if that works.
Yeah, hopefully.
At this point, what else are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, what I would give to see another Daniel Ricciardo swan dive into the pool, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen.
Hey, never say never. All right. So, yeah, I mean, it was a good day. I'm looking forward to Monaco. Top 3, let's just do real quick, top 3 Monaco predictions. Who do you think is going to be the podium at Monaco? We'll compare this to the actual results. We'll see how it goes.
Bold prediction right now.
Okay.
Bottas taking the win, Leclerc second, and we're going... Oh, God, who's going to be third? I'm going to say Lando Norris third. Reasoning behind this. Assume Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton share the front row. Heroics will be played in Descendavant, and both of them will DNF. That is my prediction.
No. Oh, man, that is bold.
I think, honestly, after seeing what we saw at Imola and seeing Lewis Hamilton nearly bin it in the first corner versus Verstappen side by side, if they get into that same thing again, there will be carnage, and we will have an upset.
Golly. And so you said, repeat that one more time just for the record books.
Bottas, Leclerc, I think Norris was the last one I said. Yeah, sounds about right.
Bottas, Norris, and okay, Bottas, Leclerc, Norris, 1, 2, 3. That's good. I'm gonna go Verstappen, Hamilton, Norris. That's what I'm gonna go for.
That's reasonable. I think, especially that's the. I don't want to say that's the normal decision someone would make, but that is definitely probably the most realistic decision. I'm just thinking is that after this weekend, Max has something to prove again. I think that hope has to stay alive for the Red Bull fans. It has to stay alive for the team itself. And I think Max realistically is the person that's going to have to put that into fruition. I think he's going to have to try something gutsy like that in order to get success to happen. And, you lose more opportunities by hesitating than you do by making the right or wrong decision. So I feel like they can't hesitate any longer than they already are.
I don't know if that is the most realistic prediction. I think a realistic prediction would be along the lines of Verstappen, Perez, Hamilton. or Verstappen, Hamilton, Perez, that combination. But I just see, I don't know. I think Verstappen's going to take it. I think the Red Bull's too strong at Monaco to not. So I think their aero's just a little bit better for that track. So we'll see. I'm wearing the suit, so Red Bull better show up. I'm going to send a picture of my suit to Christian Horner, and because that's not creepy at all. Just be like, hey man, I'm wearing a suit. Hey, this guy in Texas is wearing a suit for the Monaco Grand Prix. This is all right. So cool. Appreciate it. So
I've got my Red Bull team shirt. I'll have it on Sunday tradition.
I gotta get another one. I have one, but it says Aston Martin on it, which is cool. It'll be a collector's item.
That's the one I got actually. It was actually funny. My brother wanted to use my Netflix account, and I said, "All right, you could either pay me by the month, or you can just give me a down payment." And that's what it was. So yeah,
there you go.
Yeah,
there you
absolutely.
go. My next piece is a McLaren hoodie. I got to get that McLaren team hoodie.
Oh, those McLaren hoodies are sick. Honestly,
it looks really good.
That's next.
And orange is my favorite. Can you tell that orange is my favorite color? I grew up in Houston, and Astros fan. So
there you go.
There you go. Midwest F1 League, second week of races. We went Bahrain short this weekend, and I had a pretty crazy start to my race, and ended up getting punted into one car, which sent me careening off into, unfortunately, another car. So apologize to Domingos for his race finishing sideswipe that he got from me unintentionally, because I kind of lost control of my car there. Managed to bring it back up to P11 from just last place. So it was kind of a recovery drive. I would have liked to have gotten a top 10. I think I'm getting like 10 points removed from my race. So I think we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure time wise if that's going to pull me back up any spots, but it'd be nice. It would be nice, but we'll have to check.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with you always having the most wild onboard to any situation ever. It's at Canada, it was you going into the pits and getting together with the Racing Point. Last week, it was you on the start, and it's absolute gold mine for me that gets to edit it and throw it in for like, oh, this is what happened from Adeltonian's perspective. As I've been doing that now, in case you haven't noticed, that's the new thing is I'm throwing in driver perspectives, because I don't know if you noticed the broadcast camera settings in the game is starting to get a little bit weird. Like, I don't know if you noticed the start, it was delayed for about like 5 seconds or something like that. Like really lights went out and everybody just sat there. And it wasn't just me either, because I looked at Monkey's perspective and he had that same thing. So that was really interesting to me. So yeah,
it is really weird, man. It's kind of, I don't know if it's a lag deal. But I'm looking forward to the next game. This is a great game. Don't get me wrong. Codemasters has done like a wonderful job with this game, but I'm looking forward to the next one and the whole experience on a next gen console with PlayStation 5, hoping that they work out some of these telemetry issues and like lobby glitch issues, to give it kind of a smoother experience with multiplayer. But it's difficult. It's just a difficult thing when you have an online lobby and you've got 20 different connections zapping into one server, in one kind of floating online server. I don't know how their hosting networking goes with that, but it's just difficult. So I'm hoping with this new system and this new game with updated software and things like that, it kind of goes a little smoother, and hopefully some better AI too, to go along with that. But yeah, it was a really weird start as far as like glitching and stuff like that. I don't know if anybody that jumped the gun had to do like a drive-through, which is weird.
Yeah,
did you see that?
Saffron, it happened to Saffron because I remember it must have happened for him as well, because he went he jumped the start by at least like 2 seconds. So I'm assuming something happened there as well. I think he had a 5 second to serve anyways, so I think he actually had to do two. I think he actually had to do 2 more trips to pit road than he normally would have, which is unfortunate because he was in a really good position for the race, which is a typical thing that we see from Saffron when he's on a good day.
He's a fast driver.
It really is.
He's quick.
Yeah, he's definitely. I think once he gets the consistency there, he will be probably one of the quickest drivers in the division. I think last season we saw, I think both him and Sadistic have the races where it was just kind of, they didn't get the result they wanted. They may have DNF'd or something like that. But I think obviously once you iron everything out, he's definitely going to be right up there as well once again.
Yeah, I think so. I have the opposite problem where I'm consistent, but I'm consistently P9. So just try to figure out a way to get out of the P9, which is not the worst place to be, but it's not the best at all. It's not the best by any stretch. So I've been working on ways to just try to, I don't know, man. I feel stuck with my pace. I feel stuck in a place, and I know it's weak as shit to blame it on your equipment, but I just want to upgrade to the wheel setup as quickly as possible because I just feel like I get held back with this whole thing. And to be able to find slip angles and stuff with the wheel and stuff like that. So I'm really pumped on getting a wheel set up pretty soon because otherwise I don't know how quicker I can get with a controller. We'll have to see.
Yeah, that was kind of the thing that I noticed was it was like that's typically the trend is the guys that have the wheel, have the setups are normally first on the grid. So hopefully that's an investment that I'll make soon. Not me completely spending money just to do good in F2, but
what do you think? What kind of? Well, hey, it's worth it. Those are fun cars. Where are you gonna go with setup wise?
I don't know. I hear mixed reviews on both. I think it might be easier to get the Logitech, but I hear Thrustmaster is probably better. ? I don't know. Haven't been paying attention to it that much, considering that's not in the immediate future. But so it's on the back burner, shall we say?
That Ferrari wheel is cool.
Oh my god,
it's really cool. Problem with it is it's a Thrustmaster, so.
I want to put it in my actual car. I don't care. My car, my car's a 2014 Chevy. I would absolutely put it in there. I don't care. My car's got 240,000 on it. I will absolutely find a way to put a Thrustmaster MFD in the car. I would definitely do that. 100%.
Hey, let me put this in my Honda CRV. Let's do this.
Absolutely, man.
Give you just gives you gas gauge information on that screen. It's this is vastly underutilized.
Oh, absolutely.
Thrustmaster. I don't like I think CSL, the Fanatec CSL pedals just kind of nailed it as far as just sticking to a good 2-pedal setup where you've got paddle shifters on most cars anyway. And especially with Formula cars, you got paddle shifters. So you don't need that clutch pedal. And I don't know if Thrustmaster has anything that's equivalent with those pedals. And I think that just kind of what Fanatec does with their pedal setups just looks far superior than anything Thrustmaster is doing right now. I don't have experience on either sets personally, so I can't really say. I'm just kind of gabbing. But it looks like the Fanatec pedals are just a little better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks that way. But, obviously I'm not going to go all out until I know that I'm going to continue doing this. I think, honestly, F1 2020 was the first, if you even want to call it simulator racing game, that I've ever owned, honestly.
Kind of.
So yeah, honestly, if I stick into it, obviously, then I'll continue to make my way up in the food chain of good equipment and whatnot. But I'm just going to probably get something really basic to start, obviously.
Yeah, there we go. Let's get to the MFW, the Midwest F1 news by Monkey Mafia, brought to you by Monkey Mafia, who's nursing a separated shoulder, man. He just sent me his x-rays of his shoulder, and they look horrible. It looks catastrophic, but apparently it's not that bad. But there's one bone that's sticking out.
Yeah.
Just like a shipping dock just way up here, just shoulder pads or something. It's dude, how are you even?
Yeah.
It looks like something I would just be screaming in agony. I'll just wake up and scream in agony because that's what my shoulder looks like. So props to Monkey Mafia for, apparently doing all this and then having just a bum shoulder. So that looks very painful. So let's see Division 4. Let's start it with Division 4 and we'll end it with Division 1. But D4 Knuckles snagged his first pole of the season with a dead test message in P2, dissection in P3, and it looks like Cowboy P4, and fan favorite Tim Lee rounding out the top 5 in qualifying. Is he a fan favorite? Is that how that works?
He's definitely been a fan favorite. I actually, it's funny you mentioned that. One of my first broadcasts I did with Midwest F1, it was actually my second ever one. It was a Friday broadcast. And I remember saying something about Tim Lee, and Crash goes to me. He goes, all right, listen, Tim Lee is like kind of the fan favorite. Like, you're still new here. So, but you don't get to say that sort of thing yet. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know it was like that, but you gotta respect the traditions, I guess, or whatever. But
yeah, there you go. I want that position. I want to be a fan favorite. How do you sign up for that? Is there an application? I would like to have it.
I am probably, I've been the voice of Div 2 for the second season now. I'm not even there yet, so I couldn't tell you.
There you go. Well,
comes time, I assume. Question.
There you go. So he rounded out the top 5 in qualifying, and Knuckles looks like finished the sweep and nailed his second win in a row to start the season. Nitwit would also repeat last week's results for another P2, so congrats on the consistency there to Mr. Nitwit, which is, you call yourself Nitwit, I'm going to call you Mr. Nitwit, just so you sound like a character from a comic strip or something. And first time reserve, the G1819 taking the final step of the podium in a great first appearance. So, props up to first time reserve, the G1819, for doing that. It's pretty hard to do, to step in as a reserve, snag a podium. So that's cool. Mm-hmm. Knuckles, Nitwick, Dissection, and 4 and 5, Spaceman 20, and the G1819 in 5th place. So it says that it looks like it says he was P3 on the podium, but on this it says P5 on Monkey's News here. So I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know how that works. Well, he was up there somewhere. I'm not sure what's going on.
It's a good result. This is a good result.
Yeah, it's good. It's top. Even if you're reserved top 5, good job. Hey man, good job. Anyway, D3 looks like Murph and Selly. Murph and Selly? How do you say that? Are you reading the same thing I am?
Yeah. That sounds about right. I think on Castle probably just call him Murph, probably, but it goes either way. You can say whatever you want.
Murph. We're just gonna call you Murph. Hey, Murph and Selly. We're calling you Murph. Murph leads the head of the field in his first qualifying as a full-time driver, and it looks like 1st through 13th in qualifying saw a gap of only 0.955 seconds. So, holy shit, that's pretty narrow. With young DJ CJ P2 and Unholy Red Eye in P3. What a name, dude. Unholy Red Eye. What's going on? What is this, a cowboy video game? Murph finished the sweep with his first MWF1 win. Houdini has another good finish and gets his first podium of the season in P2. And GDB0791 would finish P3 on track, but a post-race penalty would drop him P5. Oh!
That's tough.
Bites you in the butt. Also, look, guys, stop putting so many numbers in your name. All right, I'm gonna stop saying the numbers in your name. If you don't do this, is starting to look like some sort of bank routing number. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
so, hey, am I reading your usernames or am I reading your bank routing number? What's going on? Anyway, and it looks subtle but whole onto the podium, and Chief Braids into P4. Again, it's showing subtle on P5. Is this let me hold on
isn't
real
even
quick.
on that list.
Let me check. Let me check the actual results here for D3.
Shout out to Chief Braids, though. Good guy. We had a couple races with him. I think he stepped in Brazil last season, had a really solid I think he had a really solid quali, and then I don't know what happened to him, but yeah, good driver. We'll be up there soon enough.
Yeah, really good driver. Shout out to Subtle But Whole. I actually found that driver. I believe it's a dude. Him. I believe it's a him. We never got to that conversation, but I'm gonna assume it's a guy. I found him in a ranked lobby. So and then I invited him to the league, and he's turning out to put up some pretty good numbers. So I'm glad that it's paying off for him. I think he told me that he's having a pretty good time in Midwest. So yeah, man, shout out to him. Congrats on the results there. And let's move on to D2. What we were just talking about, we already covered it a little bit. But Matt Rosie actually going up to D1. I'm glad. Hey,
Yeah, I was about
Matt
to
Rosie,
say,
glad you're going up to D1.
Everyone in Div 2 probably took a big sigh of relief after that, because
I did.
I don't blame you. It was a bit wild, actually, but definitely deserves to be in Div 1, no doubt about that.
I took a big poop of relief when I heard the news. I said, well, I need to take a relief poop, and I did, because it just every ounce of stress melted away when I found out that he was no longer going to be just blessing us with his presence, his 13 seconds ahead presence on every race. So because that was going to be a fun season of just like, well, there he goes again. Off he goes into the wild blue yonder. Okay. So, of course he set a scorching record, lap record with a 57.8. So holy shit, man, maybe slow down, save some for the rest of us.
Yep.
And Will Ann's got a P2 and Uncle Ben's in P3, which, just solid. Those guys, Will Ann's, or anytime those guys are behind me, I'm like, well, I'm just going to let you by. So, so you can, so you can go on to claim your podium, because I know that's where you're going. So,
yep.
And much like the D1, the field was tight with only 1.1 seconds between P2 and P17. So again, holy shit, So, which is, in Bahrain short too, it's pretty easy to go sub 1 minute under in Bahrain short. So it's a fun track, man. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy like the concept of putting a short track like that, a short layout in the season actually, and having like a good like short track season. I feel like Suzuka short's a little too small for something like that, like a race, but Bahrain's kind of like the right length.
Yeah, Bahrain we were talking about it before the season started. We were actually talking about probably midway through last season, actually. And we were talking about it's like, well, Bahrain short is realistically the only track that we probably could put in of the short tracks, aside from, I think USA was like the only other short track that we could realistically put in, aside from it being penalties everywhere from the transition within the track itself. But I really enjoyed that, and it was a different breed of a race as well, because we was asking people. Obviously, we got the pre-race questions every week, as I normally do, as the other divisions do. But it didn't seem like a lot of people had experience on this track, which was something that I was on the fence about. I was like, we could see a good race here, but we could also see a mess. So I mean, who could tell? But it turned out to be we did see both. We saw a little bit of both.
We saw both.
Which
Domingos, sorry about that again, buddy. So.
I feel really bad for Domingos, man. He that was just there's nothing he could do about that either. That's just a wild circumstance. But he'll get there.
It was a wild circumstance, or as I like to call it, getting NFL blitzed off the line by someone. His name rhymes with Galentine's, so so that was a thing. I think you got my, you didn't get my screen grab from that. Actually, you did. No, you put the screen grab from me off the line.
I'll put that in under the safety bar,
I think you did. Yeah. You also got my screen grab of just like sliding off on the long right hander and just yelling expletives for like 5 straight minutes.
It was okay though. It wasn't anything. It was actually thankful to me, because I had actually just gotten home. That was at I think. Now this is going to sound bad. I didn't even start editing that until probably 8:00 on Sunday, because obviously Mother's Day, and then these past couple weekends have been super busy for me, so I've just not had the time to sit down and actually edit a video. But that's probably going to change, obviously, as this is finals week. But and I was just sitting there. And I was going through it, and I was like, I'm so thankful that he didn't say anything completely ridiculous for me to have to sit down, edit in for another 10 minutes, the extra censor bleeps that I would have had to throw in. And
no, I'm too zenned out on CBD during those races to really go too rage.
Fair. Can't blame you on that.
Induced.
I mean, I've got my for the F2 race, I hit the melatonin a couple times. So
melatonin, dude, that just puts me to sleep.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the point, really, because honestly, if you had put a heart rate monitor, especially, I'll tell you what, when I was I think the first couple times I went into F2, and I just noticed like some of the guys I'm going against, we got Chaco, we got I think we got JC's in this, we got all these guys who are potentially going in Div 1, going into Div 1. I was freaking out, man. I was losing it, honestly. But that just it just kind of resets me. It's like, all right, we're calm now. We're calm. It's doable. But yeah, I think I'm going to keep making that editing a thing where it's like because obviously with your incident there going through Sector 3, I didn't see what happened. I just saw a car go off and I saw you kind of sit there. I didn't know if you had been hit by anybody. I didn't know if you had just spun it.
No, I just hate that turn.
Oh,
I just
no,
hate it.
Oh, it's an awful turn. I can't blame you. No, it's not awful. But yeah, that's going to be another thing we start doing. Not only with the radio, I'm also going to start throwing that in there. I do, however, need to come up with a better system for it though, because what iMovie presents me is just not good enough for that.
Oh man, you got to go Premiere Pro, baby. That's what I use.
I had that.
Let's get it again.
Back a couple years ago, I had a ripped off version of it from the school for a film class that I was doing. So I did have that.
All right. Well, Hotspot's Venmo is Hotspot. Hotspot me. Actually, it's Hotspot. It should be Hotspot me. That's what it should be. Your Venmo.
No, I'm gonna set up a Venmo. No, that
he's gonna set up a Venmo. It's Hotspot me, and we're gonna get him Premiere Pro. So I have it, but I don't have time to do that. So that's all going to be
before editing software. Give me some actual internet. That's like in a router first. That would be
you got a pretty shaky internet situation.
Yeah, which is unfortunately the reason why I don't stream. I feel like every time I do stream the races, it's kind of like whoa, this is a big thing. Which I'm going to be honest, because you participated in this last night. We did the Classic Cars in Monaco race. The week before, when we were doing F2, my internet was like the school internet was shutting off every like 20 minutes or so. I was saying to myself, I was like, I really hope they have this fixed because I want to do something next week because it's Monaco, because they just did the historic Monaco Grand Prix, I think 2 weeks ago. I definitely want to do this. And I didn't even know if it was going to work properly until I got there, until I sat down, edited the video, uploaded, everything went fine. So that was the reason why we only had like 10 guys in the field, 11 guys. But hopefully, and when we do that again, we'll have more people. Hopefully, I'll put out more notice as well. And but I don't think live streaming it's going to be a possibility at that point. But what are you going to do?
What are you going to do, man?
Yeah.
Crash has got the setup where he basically just streams it and then it goes straight up, and Crash is a good system too, where it's pretty minimal. But it gets the job done. You see what you want to see.
Yeah.
And so it's two different approaches, kind of whatever suits you,
Yeah, that was kind of the thing. Was I was like, I started kind of eating away at myself there for a minute, because I was like, I have this time to edit it after I pre-record the div races. I have the time and the potential to edit this into something better than it would. And I would have never lived with myself if I actually didn't take the time to do that. So it's got its perks not having actual internet to stream.
You got to just enjoy. Listen, it's all about just remember the Instagram inspiring accounts, hashtag enjoy the process. All right. Hashtag journey, not the destination. Absolutely. Hashtag never give up. Hashtag Rome wasn't built in a day. All right. Oh, hashtag don't talk about it, be about it. All right. Just remember those and we're good to go. Absolutely. That's all you need to do.
Inspirational.
Absolutely. So top 5 from this race. Shout out to Matt Rosie, Will Ans, Tiak, my teammate with Ferrari putting up the podium, and then Uncle Ben's Rice and Forza Juve rounding out the top 5. So yeah, man, Ferrari looking good. Team Ferrari Division 2, looking pretty solid. Happy where we're at. I'm just gonna try to not suck as much as possible, and then I think we'll score some decent points up there.
Absolutely, that's the thing with it. It's not about who's better. It's just who sucks less. That's at the end of the day. Yeah. That's just how it goes.
I'm just gonna try to suck as little as possible.
Well, you got Monaco this week, so I wish you good luck on that.
I've been did the historic race last night, which was fun. Actually, with my mustache, since I was in the 92 Williams, with my mustache, I got a call from Nigel Mansell himself. He was aware of the stash and the fact that I was driving his car, so he called me. He's like, "Hey mate, just wanted to tell you good luck. How you doing? My pole was 119.4. If you could pull that off, cool. If not, no big deal. But just wanted to tell you, you have my blessing. as a Stash Brothers. He called me a Stash Brother. So it was, I was trying to channel his energy. And even though only 4 drivers finished and I was the 3rd driver that finished out of a lot of cars that DNF'd, and even though only 4 survived and I got the podium, I still think it's because I was channeling Nigel Mansell. And, that's what I'm going to blame it on.
Yeah.
So.
I will say the good thing with that is that we didn't see any, it wasn't like the whole race was only 4 cars. It was only like the last 10 laps or something like that.
The last 10 laps. So it's like, well, there's only 4 of us now.
And a lot of people, from what I heard, didn't have experience with the classic cars. Not a lot of them ever used them, which I'm going to be honest, I didn't really use either.
Yeah.
But that was a good experiment that we had. From now on, we're gonna keep safety car off. We're gonna put it down to only 25% because I think 50 was way too much for only 11 people. Never mind the 4 that finished.
It's a lot.
Yeah, but
the trick with the classic cars is turn your Hey guys, classic car tip: turn your traction control on full. Like why even? Yeah. Or if you have it off, typically put it on medium for classic cars. Exactly. Just do a step up than when you normally would. Because I tried with medium and I was running time trial in that car with medium and I was like, okay, feel like I'm just driving on bacon grease. Mm-hmm. So this isn't going to work for me.
Yeah.
And then it turned out all right. Division 1 qualifying saw Mayermer take his first Midwest F1 pole with a blistering 57.978. And that was his quali lap a little slower than Div 2? And is that why Matt Rosie is going up to Div 1? What was Matt Rosie's 57? Yeah, dude. Yeah. Matt Rosie.
It was
up there with a quicker quali lap than Div 1. What's going on?
It was wild because that was his last attempt at a quali lap as well. He was already, I don't know if he was already faster than that to begin with, but he was hovering right around that mark. And then he absolutely just flies out with that lap. I was really surprised, but again, he fully deserves to be Div 1. And we were saying that for the longest time is like, he's probably going to be the first guy to move up. And well, that's what happened. But now we got Pork. So that should be fun to watch because Pork's actually got some talent on him as well. So
Pork Chops.
Don't run into him.
14 Z's on the end. Hey, Pork Chops, put like 4 Z's on the end of your name. Just lean into it. You put the Z on the end of your name, do like 8 Z's on the end of your name. Just, these guys have PIN numbers on the end of their names. So just put 18 Z's on the end of your name. It's all good, baby. So Mayermer with his pole lap, 57.9, which is still smoking. And then we got Mystic, Joker, MP2, and F1 Ginnett to win it in P3. Is that because he likes Ginnett to win it? Is it a gin drinker? I'm not sure.
I have no idea.
I've always wondered.
He might, considering he stays up till like 3 a.m. to finish out these races because obviously he's in the UK. So.
Oh wow! Oh okay, yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, hey man, good job.
I respect
never sleeping.
Yeah,
so.
I respect the guys from the UK in this league, particularly because of that. Because I remember him. I think it was either him or Statistic last season. When he goes. All right, it's 3:30 in the morning. I'm gonna go to sleep now. It was an awful accent. I wasn't even trying, but
it was okay. Look, just to channel like every Guy Ritchie movie you've seen, right? Just kind of like the Peaky. Think of the Peaky Fucking Blinders,
absolutely.
Right? I mean, and just imagine yourself wearing like a 3-piece knit suit.
I kind of go into every race just trying to channel Murray Walker on the inside, though my voice doesn't go as high. But I try my best, certainly.
Martin Brundle with the. Is it basically like he's like a Michael Caine. He's like basically a Michael Caine. He's like if Michael Caine had a younger brother that was into F1, things like that. It's a little high pitched in what I'm saying right now, but it's definitely like Michael Caine's cousin, something like that. So it's actually great listening. Like I love listening to Martin Brundle. I actually love listening to English announcers in general.
They make it
funnier
better.
than American announcers.
Every sport better, unless obviously it was something like American football. Then I would be like, okay, that's a little bit strange. Any other sport, just it adds to it. I don't know.
Yeah. Martin Brundle describing anybody's driving style during a race weekend is great. He's like, look at George Russell with this large sweeping hit of the throttle. He takes it in like not, and he's just like
absolutely
doing these like bombastuous like descriptions of the driving styles, and they're not like the naturally aspirated V8 engines. You're like, dude, this guy fucking breathes this shit.
Majestic.
It's awesome.
It's the Morgan Freeman of F1. But also another guy I was impressed with was Nico Rosberg. He was in the booth as well, and I thought he was actually a solid addition to it. They should be in there more, honestly.
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and disagree with you. Can't stand Nico Rosberg, so I just don't like him.
Rosberg.
I just don't like him. Yeah, I don't like him.
Well,
I never liked him.
You can disagree for his on-track stuff or whatever. I don't know the reason behind that, but in the booth, he is
off track too.
He is a solid booth presence, really.
Yeah, you know what?
He knows
I think
what he's talking about.
You know, here's the deal. I'll give you that. He is. I just don't like him. I just don't like him. And you know what? Half of it's because he just looks like plastic. Nico Rosberg looks like he's made of plastic. He just looks. He looks like a Ken doll. He just looks like a fake, like that Backstreet Boys or that NSYNC video where they're all like it just looks like they made a bunch of Nico Rosbergs essentially. He just like a little plastic man that throws hats in the cool down room because he's mad. It's like, dude, you're not Lewis Hamilton. Get over it. It's okay. Nobody is. Hey, man, guess what? You're not Lewis Hamilton, but also literally no one else is except for Lewis Hamilton. Exactly. So like, don't feel bad, you know? It's like, I'm not as good at golf as Tiger Woods. It's like, yeah, man, you're not going to be. It's fine. It's okay. You're sitting in the cool down room of a Formula One race because you just got second, dude, and you drive for Mercedes. Dude, that whole season, I think it was 2015 or 2016 where he got beat out.
Or beat Hamilton.
I think he won in 2016, right? Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So the 2015, I think, when he was trying to win the championship and he was getting beat out by Lewis, he was just it's like, dude, he was just so mad the entire time. It's like, hey man, settle down, dude. Also, you look like you're made of latex. So what's going on?
Yeah.
So P2 Mystic gonna win at P3. Hey Tight and his reserve role would start at a P6, which is cool. Hey, good reserve P6. Hey Tight. Also, your name sounds like a 311 song, so that's cool. So like a B-side 311 song. Did I just throw a reference out that you are too young for? Do you know who 311 is?
Not at all. Not whatsoever.
You don't know who 311 is, dude.
No.
The older guys in this league are going to be watching this being like, oh my God, dude, 311 was like
I didn't know why people hated
bands.
Bernie Ecclestone until yesterday.
Everybody hates Bernie Ecclestone. What are you talking about?
Okay, so because my father's he's not relatively older, he's 56, but he every time I bring up F1, he still goes, he talks about Bernie Ecclestone. I had no idea why people hated him until yesterday. I never had the want to actually look into it. And then Matt mentioned it in the chat yesterday, and I was like, okay, what's the deal with this guy? Why is he hated for some reason? And yeah, rightfully so.
Shout out to Money Matt for
Human
these
Encyclopedia.
Yeah, dude. Every time he's like, all right, we'll strap in, and I'm like, I am strapping in. So I'm gonna go put some tea on. I'm gonna make a sandwich, and I'm gonna read this history lesson. Kid just comes up with like these history dude, where do you get is he? At first I was like, are you copying and pasting from Wikipedia's what's going on? He's like, no, I know this stuff. It's like, okay, well, yeah, you know what's going on? You Rain Man over here? What's going on?
I think I could only do that for soccer. That's probably about it. That's before F1 before F1 came along. That was my bag. But yeah, no, I have no idea. It was honestly, he was the first one. It was the first one I went to. I was like, all right, Matt, we need to actually discuss this. I have no idea what you're talking about. Please.
We need to do someone needs to, I'll narrate. Listen, Matt, if you're watching this, you probably aren't, but if you're watching this, I'm going to narrate one of your history lessons in a British accent. And then we're going to put old timey footage over it with 8mm footage and stuff like that. And we'll do some music in the background. And it'll be great. Anyway, Div 1, let's round out this race roundup here. 57 laps of race action. Saw plenty of battles and teamwork. Mystic with his second win in a row to start the season and would help him extend his championship lead to 35 points. Okay, dude, slow down. 35 points after the second race. You know, Matt Rosie going to challenge that? You think? I think so. I think Matt Rose is going to come in and challenge for the championship. That's how good that dude is. He's just going to come in and just Kobe Bryant the shit out of it. Just kind of be like, all right, well, this championship's mine.
No doubt. So he's wild. And that's the best. Again, that's the best part about Div 2 is because that's where we see all the Div 1 guys that they all had to go through Div 2. And honestly, that is the best part of Div 2 is that you get to see them in progress. And yeah, sometimes we'll have these wildly out of proportionate races where Matt Rosie will win by 20 seconds or something like that. But you'll just look at it and say, yep, he's going to do something in Div 1. And that's great to see. So
there you go. Jenna to win it would edge out Maymer at the line after a disappointing qualifying. The Red Bulls, Cake Thomas and Seabury, went alternate strategy and started on the hards. Hey, dudes, bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out. And it looks like it worked together. They got a pair of top 10s. So I don't, wow, dudes, that's actually like a really underrated thing you did there. So that's pretty cool. Kenny will owe his teammates after the races. Kenny had a hefty amount of penalties that he was saved by his teammate not lapping him and saving him a P5. I wonder what he owes him. What are you going to do? Are you going to bake him a cake, or what's going to do? You guys live close to each other? Because if so, I would bake him a cake or something like that. Mystic seems like more of a pie guy, though. Mystic, if I were to guess, he seems like more of like a key lime pie guy. But that's just a wild guess. Bit of info was brought out in the broadcast that Sui is Mystic's younger brother. I didn't know that. That's cool. But actually, Sui is my teammate in F2, and we've had a couple of chat parties, and they kind of sound the same, so that doesn't surprise me at all. So it's kind of cool. Also explains why he's such a good driver as well. So that's why I picked him in F2. I was like, you don't suck. Let's see if we can do something. And I haven't so far. We're not going to talk about that, Chris. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about my F2 disaster some other time. But yeah, man, that's cool. So top 5, Div 1, Bahrain Short, Mystic, Maymer, Random, Sirius, Gannett won it, and Yolmir in 5th. Yolmir's pretty underrated talent as well in Div 1. So yeah, man, a good week. We're looking forward to what we got this week. Monaco, just a lot of carnage. Just a lot of carnage. It's at night. Which, by the way, why don't they do the real race at night? Because they've got to have the lights there and stuff, right? I guess it's tradition. They've kind of had it during the day.
Surely they must. I mean, I would love to see that. That'd absolutely be something. I will say, though, despite the carnage that we sometimes get at Monaco, what I have noticed is that people make a name for themselves at Monaco. Specifically, this was like Jinnett's big break last season in Div 2 was the race that he kind of got noticed, and eventually, obviously, he went up into Div 1. But I think he had like a double overtake going through. I forgot the name of it. The uphill after Sendevat. He pulled off a double overtake in that, and I was like, well, okay then.
Oh man, well that's insane. That's a hard place to do it. Anywhere on that track's a hard place to do it, but that place is hard to do it too. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun. I'm just gonna try to not die. That's my objective, is just not die at Monaco. If I could stay out of the penalties, not die, and not do a wing change, that would be tight. So we'll see how it goes. And yeah, man, we'll do it again. Let's do this again. Let's do it. Yeah, I'm sure this won't be your last if James has to step out again. Big shout out to my co-host James, also doing finals this week, so he had to take a rain check for this week. So, and listen, email us slipstreampod@gmail.com, at the Slipcast on Twitter. And this has been the Slipstream Podcast. Hotspot, thanks for doing it, buddy.
Absolutely. Anytime. Honestly, I love doing this. Anytime you need me, I'll be here.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, thanks for your time, and thanks for doing it again. This has been the Slipstream Podcast, everybody. And until next time, keep pushing.